Ready for another deep dive. Today we're looking at the latest news from the Faroe Islands. We've got a stack of reports right here from Kringvarp Føroyar in.fo and vp.fo. Looks like everything from politics and finance to sports and even some holiday cheer.
Sounds good.
Let's kick things off with politics. What's the latest in Vágar municipality?
Well, after some uncertainty, it looks like Bernie Johansson is staying put as mayor.
Yeah, that was a bit of a saga, wasn't it? Any other political news grabbing headlines?
Well, get ready for some smoother travel. The new tunnels north of Faroe, they're officially opening December 19th.
Oh, that's fantastic. Although I hear not all the tunnel news is good news. What's going on with the South Suðuroy tunnel?
Yeah, the proposed route for that is causing a bit of a stir with residents voicing some strong opinions during discussions. And then there's also concerns about potential tunnel tolls and their impact on public transportation.
Yeah, those infrastructure projects always seem to come with a unique set of challenges.
They do.
So, moving on now, what's making headlines in the world of fishing regulations?
Well, the government is proposing to shorten the hunting season for black guillemots.
Interesting. And on a related note, the Faroe Islands have joined their Nordic neighbors in demanding that tech giants, the ones like Meta, Google, TikTok, Snapchat, that they take more action against illegal content online.
Right. Seems like this issue of digital regulation is a growing concern all across the region.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's turn to the economy now. What's Landsbanken saying these days?
Well, the National Bank is warning that it's too early to tell if inflation is truly under control despite all the efforts from central banks both in the U.S. and in Europe.
That's a little concerning given all the global economic anxiety at the moment.
It is, and this is reflected in some of the public meetings that have been happening in Sandoy, where residents have highlighted the rising cost of living.
Yeah, I can imagine that's a big concern for a lot of people. Okay, let's lighten things up a bit and move on to some sports news. What are some standout achievements to report?
Well, Faroese football is making its mark internationally. We've got Lassen Isaksen. He's been appointed as a UEFA referee observer for a Champions League match.
Wow, that's a big deal.
It is. And then we also have Faroese players making waves in the Norwegian and Swedish leagues. It's great to see.
Sounds like Faroese football is having a moment. Any other sporting highlights?
The Sea women's volleyball team, they're on a roll, still undefeated this season and solidifying their top spot in the league.
Pretty impressive. Dominating like that takes some serious skill and dedication. Before we wrap up this section, let's get a quick weather update. What can we expect for the week ahead?
Well, the forecast looks pretty mild for the Faroe Islands. Calm weather, light winds, and occasional rain showers expected.
Perfect weather to enjoy all the holiday festivities happening across the islands.
You're right. Christmas concerts, markets, and light displays are in full swing. And of course, the arrival of Jólaskipiga in Tórshavn Harbor is always a special event.
It's great to see those traditions thriving. Now for a story that sparked a bit of debate. A new film featuring 5,000 rats has drawn criticism from animal activists.
Yeah, they're raising concerns about the ethical treatment of animals in filmmaking, a topic that's getting more and more attention worldwide.
It's a complex issue, for sure. It is a complex issue. Turning our attention back to the economy for a moment, it seems like the rising cost of living is a major concern for a lot of folks in the Faroe Islands.
It is, yeah. Public meetings in Sandoy have really highlighted how these rising costs are affecting people's everyday lives. It's really prompting a lot of discussion about, just the affordability of basic necessities.
Yeah, it's understandable that people are feeling the pressure. And with those economic concerns in mind, let's delve deeper into the education funding situation. What's the latest there?
Well, teachers' unions are expressing serious worries about the proposed budget cuts to education. And if these cuts are implemented, it would be the second year in a row that education funding has been reduced.
2 years in a row. That's a worrying trend. What's driving these proposed cuts?
Well, like a lot of governments around the world, the Faroe Islands are facing economic pressures. And, they're having to make tough decisions about resource allocation.
Hopefully they can find a solution that prioritizes, the education of future generations.
So speaking of potentially controversial decisions, what's the latest on the proposed changes to the black guillemot hunting season?
Well, the proposal has faced some pretty strong opposition, particularly from the KVF Association, which represents Faroe's rowing clubs.
Okay, and what's their reasoning for opposing the changes?
Well, they argue that the proposed changes to the hunting season are essentially an illegal labor action. So it seems like the intersection of environmental regulations and labor rights is creating a pretty complex situation.
Yeah, it really highlights how interconnected these issues can be, even in a place like the Faroe Islands. Let's circle back to the South Surrey Tunnel debate for a second. It seems like this project is revealing some deeper tensions within Faroe society. What do you think? Yeah, you're right. There's a noticeable urban-rural divide at play here, with people on the smaller islands often feeling overlooked when it comes to infrastructure investment.
Yeah, that sense of the capital, receiving more attention and resources than the outer islands
Yeah.
is a common sentiment that we see in a lot of island nations.
Exactly. And then there's also the economic aspect. Some people believe that this tunnel will be a boon for the entire archipelago, while others are worried about the potential cost and disruption during construction.
It's that classic dilemma of progress versus preservation.
And kind of woven through all of this is a question of identity. Like, what does it mean to be Faroes in the 21st century? How do you strike that balance between preserving tradition and embracing modernization? These are questions that communities all over the world are grappling with.
It is a good point. It's a reminder that even in a place as seemingly idyllic as the Faroe Islands, there are complex challenges and competing interests that need to be navigated. Okay, let's shift gears now to a more heartwarming story. Tell me more about Jolaskipie and its message of peace.
Sure. So the arrival of Jolaskipia in Tórshavn Harbor, it's more than just a festive spectacle. It's actually part of a larger initiative called Bind Fury Friði, which translates to Tie for Peace.
Oh, wow. What a beautiful sentiment, especially during the holiday season.
It is, and it promotes a message of understanding and connection, reminding people that even in a world that's often filled with division, there's always hope for peace and goodwill.
Yeah, it's a powerful message for sure, and one that resonates deeply, particularly in a close-knit community like the Faroe Islands.
It does, and their strong sense of community and tradition makes them, a fitting symbol for this type of initiative.
Before we move on, I want to take a moment to address something that might be on your mind. You might be wondering why we haven't really delved into the specifics of any political debates or controversies. We've talked about the players, we've talked about the issues, but we haven't really taken sides or offered opinions.
Right.
And there's a deliberate reason for that. Our goal in this deep dive is to provide you with a clear and concise overview of the most important news from the Faroe Islands. Just the facts as they're reported. We want to equip you with the knowledge you need to form your own informed opinions.
Right. We believe that you, our listener, are capable of, critical thinking and engaging with these issues in a nuanced way.
Exactly. So as we move into our final segment, keep that in mind.
We'll be exploring some stories that might challenge your assumptions and really spark your curiosity.
Get ready to dive even deeper into the heart of Faroe society, where global trends intersect with local realities. Now let's shift gears and talk about a story that raises some intriguing questions about the future of Faroe society. It seems that there's a growing concern about the increasing cost of living in the Faroe Islands.
Right.
Which isn't really surprising considering it's a global trend these days. But what makes it particularly interesting here is how this issue is playing out in the context of the Faroes' economy, which has traditionally relied very heavily on fishing and agriculture.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the rising cost of living is putting pressure on those sectors. Fishermen and farmers are facing increasing costs for fuel and equipment while trying to stay competitive in a global market.
Yeah, and it's not just the producers who are feeling the pinch, it's consumers as well.
Exactly. The rising cost of groceries is a major concern for many. So, this all raises the question of how the Faroe Islands will adapt to these economic challenges.
Right? Will they need to diversify their economy, explore new industries?
Mm-hmm.
Or is there a way to kind of navigate these global economic headwinds while maintaining their more traditional economic base? It's a pivotal moment.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, let's wrap up our deep dive today with a story that connects us back to the world of arts and culture. Remember that film featuring thousands of rats we discussed earlier?
Yes, the one that sparked protests from animal activists.
Right. What's the latest on that?
Well, it turns out the film, it's titled Nosferatu, and it's a remake of a classic silent horror movie from 1922. And the original film included a scene with a plague of rats. So some people are wondering if the filmmakers are drawing inspiration from Faroe's history.
Is there a historical connection between the Faroe Islands and rats?
Well, while not necessarily a plague, rats have been a part of the island's ecosystem for centuries. So the film's release has sparked some conversation about, the island's relationship with nature and the ethics of using animals in filmmaking.
It's a reminder that even a place as remote as the Faroe Islands can be connected to broader cultural and historical trends.
Well, there you have it. We've covered a lot of ground today, from politics and economics to sports and the arts and even animal activism.
It has been fascinating to get a glimpse into the current events that are shaping the Faroe Islands. And it's clear that this unique island community is facing many of the same challenges and opportunities as the rest of the world. Until next time, stay curious.